Hello, everyone, and welcome to my first live stream. At this point, no one's quite joined the stream yet, so I'll just take a couple minutes for those coming on for the rewatch to watch. I just got a notification that I'm live. For the people who are going to rewatch this video later on who can't join the stream live right now today, essentially what I want these streams to be is just a chance to be able to sit down for, I don't know, half hour, an hour or so and talk about movies, what movies we're watching, that kind of thing. So I have a list of, I don't know if we'll get through all of them. I have a list of about a so movies I've been watching over the month or so, and just kind of share a few minutes here and there on each of those. So again, if you're catching this on the rewatch, you can kind of skip around as you please to whatever movies may interest you. Whatever movie I'm talking about, I'll kind of put the title of it up on screen. Hopefully I got everything that I need ready to go for this stream. So let's go ahead and get started. I was originally planning on doing the stream at 12:30 Eastern time, that is, but then my plans kind of moved up. I had some free time and I was ready to go. And then right like 5 minutes before the stream started, I had what I like to call an uh-oh fart. So it took care of business, and now we're here right on time for the live stream. So this is the first live stream, not the first live stream I've done, but the first one officially for this channel. So I'm super excited about this. Again, I want this to kind of be like a monthly series or about once a month, jump on, talk about the movies we're watching, that kind of thing. So feel free to jump down in the comments, share what movies you've been watching. I'd be happy to interact and engage with you there. Or if you have any questions about the movies I'm watching, movie related questions, that kind of thing, feel free to do so. Whether you're watching live or you're catching this on the rewatch, I'd be happy to answer questions and talk more about movies because that's one of my favorite things to do. So if the screen shakes at all, it's because I'm running this off of my iPad. So first movie I want to talk about in the stream that I watched not too long ago, there we go, is Speed Racer. So Speed Racer is a movie I watched for the first time when I was younger, and I remember enjoying it. At the time, I had not seen The Matrix, so I didn't know the name The Wachowskis. It didn't mean anything to me. But now, looking back on it as an adult, obviously The Matrix is one of my favorite movies of all time. So I really wanted to revisit this one and give it another chance because I know it was kind of considered an underrated movie for the Wachowskis. And so my friend didn't want his Blu-ray anymore, so I bought it off of him and watched it just a few weeks ago and absolutely loved it. The reason I wanted to check it out is I watched a filmmaker react channel called James versus Cinema, if anyone else checks that one out. He watched the movie for the first time since he was a kid, similarly to me. Movies and Train Studios, welcome to the stream. You're the first one here in my first live stream, so happy to have you here. Anyone watching, I don't have the best internet, so if I cut out for a few minutes, you missed something, you need me to relay some information or whatever, do so. Let me know in the comments, and I'd be happy to reiterate. So, Speed Racer, I watched it just a few weeks ago, and it's literally one of the most visually stunning movies I've seen in a long time. There's so much style and substance to this movie, and of course, in the vein of, I guess, what's happening with the Fast and Furious movies right now, it's very much a family movie, which I really like. The themes are family focused at the core. It's about a racing family who's just overflowingly passionate about racing, and then it has very cool sci-fi elements as well. So it's kind of like if Fast and Furious just literally took it to the most absurd level, even for Fast and Furious standards. So, if Speed Racer is a movie that you slept on, whether it was when it came out or you've just never really heard of it, I definitely encourage people to check it out. It's a movie I really enjoyed, and it's definitely one that I'm going to continue to revisit because there's so much style and detail and fun elements to this one that I think you would miss just watching it once or twice. So, it's definitely a movie that I recommend checking out. So that is Speed Racer. Hey, Jeremy, my brother's in here. So he also has it on Blu-ray and had a very similar experience. So that's it for Speed Racer. Next is Howl's Moving Castle. Now, Howl's Moving Castle is, I think, technically an anime movie, and they're by, I forget the guy's first name, but Miyazaki is his main name. And he is known for some of the most lived in worlds when it comes to his animated films. The first one I watched of his is Spirited Away, and that's one I actually picked up on Blu-ray a few months ago. And that's definitely been my favorite of his as I've gone through some of his films, as a lot of them are on HBO Max right now. Howl's Moving Castle is one that I was recommended by a filmmaker friend of mine. I really enjoyed it. I liked the story. It's definitely different, but I can't help but love the lived in worlds that they're so authentic for an animated series or animated film. And I just love that every world you step into with his movies that I've seen so far, because I've seen Spirited Away, Howl's Moving Castle, and Princess Mononoke. And I want to revisit Mononoke because I, as much as I thought I would, I think it was a little overhyped for me. So I want to give it another chance. So sometime maybe in a few months or so, I'll revisit, see if I like it anymore, because I really liked the premise and it was really interesting. But for some reason, I just didn't love the movie as I thought I would. So Howl's Moving Castle is one that kind of tells the story of this woman who is cursed by a witch to basically be old. And she kind of has to adapt to that lifestyle. And she ends up living with this wizard and his apprentice. And it's just this magical, whimsical story of all their adventures as he has this castle that can literally walk and move all throughout the world, that kind of thing. It's a really interesting one. So definitely, I'm really interested in continuing to watch more Miyazaki movies. I know My Neighbor Totoro is probably the next one on my list that I'd like to watch of his, but I really enjoyed Howl's Moving Castle. So let's go back to the comments. Let me highlight this one here. Movies and Train Studios recently watched Sing Street, RoboCop, and Mud. All awesome movies. Yes, Sing Street is one of my favorite movies of all time. It's on my top 10 list. I'd be curious, was that your first time watching it, or had you seen it before? The original RoboCop, if that's the one you're referring to, I've not seen that one before. I have seen the new remake that came out like 5 or 10 years ago and wasn't really impressed with it at all. I know it's not widely regarded as good. Mud, I know that's a Matthew McConaughey movie, and that's one that's been on my radar for a long time. So I'd like to check out Mud at some point. I don't know if it's streaming anywhere right now, but yes, I know all three of those are widely regarded good movies. But yes, if I was to pick one off there, Sing Street, that's my go-to feel-good movie. I love that one. I watch it at least once a year. I introduced it to my family last year, and they really enjoyed it. And I am definitely due for a rewatch on that one. Also from Movies and Train Studios, My Neighbor Totoro. Yes, I definitely want to check out My Neighbor Totoro because I know the creature, the bunny bear looking creature, he's kind of like the mascot for Miyazaki movies, for the Studio Ghibli that they have there. So that's definitely one I want to check out because it was obviously popular enough that they made that the kind of icon mascot for their studio. Welcome, Foxtail Cinematics, a good friend of mine. He was the one who kind of helped encourage me to do my first live stream, whether that was indirectly or directly, but I was on a live stream of his and I really enjoyed doing it. And I had already been considering the idea of doing a live stream, but definitely after being on Fox's channel and doing it there, it was something I definitely wanted to do. So Movies and Trains said that was the first time. Pluto TV. Yes, I've heard of Pluto TV, but I never watched anything on it. So I'll have to see what kind of movies and stuff they have on there. Eddie S., hello there. All right, let's move on to my next one that I watched. Rurouni Kenshin for the finale. Let me go back to the comments in case people hop on in so we can make sure we recognize people hopping in. So Rurouni Kenshin 4, if you've been following my channel for some time, which I'm sure anyone who's here has been, I adore the Rurouni Kenshin movies. I first started watching the anime and I kind of watched the anime and I think I watched at least the first season and then I started watching the live action films because I heard excellent things about those. I watch the Corridor channels on YouTube. They have Corridor Digital and Corridor Crew, and they analyze movie effects and stunt work and all that kind of stuff. And they had referred to the Rurouni Kenshin live action films in one of their stunt videos, and I was thoroughly interested and intrigued in that because I've been getting into martial arts and foreign films quite a bit over the past few years or so. And that was when I had heard widely regarded as they're considered some of the best anime adaptations and live action films. So I was really interested in checking out both the anime and the live action. So I found the anime on HBO Max, started watching it there, eventually bought the DVDs as well, and then started the live action film. So the fourth one came out in Japan earlier this year, and Netflix picked up the international streaming rights for it and put it up on Netflix. So I really enjoyed it. I didn't like it as much. Not that I didn't like it. I didn't love it as much as the first three. It's still a really good movie. The action is excellent. It's got a really good story and great themes. But I think the first three won me over just a little bit more. So I'm really excited to check out the fifth one that's hopefully going to get picked up by Netflix too, come out later this year, where it's kind of a prequel to Kenshin's story. Really interested in seeing that. And that's definitely one I'm looking forward to. So that's going to be the conclusion of the live action films, and then there's 3 seasons of the anime. So if you are interested in martial arts films, samurai stuff, which I've been on a huge kick of, are definitely ones that I recommend. The movies, I think unless you can find them somewhere else, you kind of have to buy them on Blu-ray to watch them. But the anime, last I saw, was on HBO Max, and you can check that out there. The first 2 seasons are phenomenal. Some of the best television I've seen. And the third season I didn't finish because it just kind of became episodic at that point. But we're not really talking about the anime here. We're talking about the movies. So highlight a couple questions here. Yes, I'm planning on having this stream up on the channel afterwards. I'm assuming StreamYard keeps the stream up afterwards. If not, I'll have to look into some other options to get it up there. But as of now, I'm planning on keeping this video up on the channel afterwards. I'm going to make a playlist of all the live streams that I do. Like I said, these are going to be monthly live streams where we talk about movies. So I'm planning on doing just a playlist that'll have, like, this would be July's live stream, and then next month will be August, that kind of thing. So yes, I'm planning on keeping these videos up on the channel. They won't just be exclusive to what's live right here. Foxtail, yes, thank you for the encouragement. I'm really enjoying that Fox Encounter series that you're doing. Plaid X2 is going to be on it this week, and he's a good friend of mine too. I'm going to be on his channel later this week too, so a little plug for that. It's not going to be in a live stream format, but I'm going to be in a video of his either this week or next week, depending on how that goes. So back to the banners here. We got Small Soldiers. So Small Soldiers, let me get back to the comments again. Small Soldiers is another movie that I grew up watching a couple of times. I don't think I watched it more than twice. The first time I remember seeing it I was probably too young to see it, and all I remember is, like, it was in the final climax of the film, and it's basically like Toy Story for teenagers is kind of how I describe it. But revisiting it recently was really fun because they just came out with it on Blu-ray for the first time. And up until now, it had only been on DVD, which I actually owned it on DVD, but had never had the time to revisit it. But being motivated with it coming out on Blu-ray for only like $12 right when it came out, I definitely wanted to pick it up right away. So I got that pretty much the first week it came out, and finally checked it out a couple of weeks ago. And it definitely holds up still, I think. I believe some of the special effects maybe not holding up quite as well as they could, but again, I mean, it's 90s special effects, so we were still figuring things out back then. But Small Soldiers is still one that's definitely worth visiting, I think, because it just has, especially for me, nostalgia. I really enjoy just kind of those memories of back in childhood of just taking toys, playing with them, all that kind of stuff. And it's really cool just to imagine, like, what if there was a chip in toys that basically brought them to life. Really cool, like I said, Toy Story for teenagers kind of concept there. So Small Soldiers is another one I've been watching. Next one, I shook the camera a little bit there. Bo Burnham Inside. This one pretty much took the world by storm, and I was a little late to the party on it because I'm not usually one to watch like comedy specials on Netflix. They do a lot of them, but I don't really watch them very often. So I checked this one out finally after some recommendations from some friends, as well as a bunch of people talking about it on reviews and that kind of stuff. So I finally checked it out, and I really enjoyed it. It's weird because it's such a balance. The movie is such a good balance of humor with a lot of serious, depressing focused content. Like, it's basically this guy's the last year's experience of how it affected him mentally. So it has a lot to do with humor, but at the same time, mental health and degradation, I think, that happened for a lot of people who just didn't have or we just weren't ready for that shutdown last year with all the virus stuff going around. But I definitely recommend checking this one out for most people. It's like I said, it deals with a lot of heavy stuff, but it's fun too. And I didn't even realize until I watched the movie that a lot of the he has like a bunch of songs that he wrote throughout the movie, and they're in the movie that he did, and a lot of them are used as like songs in TikTok. And I started recognizing him as some of them on, and I always wondered kind of where they came from. And I was like, oh, that must be where that TikTok sound came from. So I mean, I really enjoyed some of them. I love that Jeffrey Bezos song, and then I don't put your hands up, whatever the name of that song is. I love both of those. Those are probably my two favorites from the movie. So if you're looking for an interesting story, or not, yeah, an interesting story and a really cool blend of humor and serious themes, I think it's really cool. Definitely worth checking out. It's very unique as far as comedy specials go that Netflix have done. I've watched at least one or two of theirs before from different comedians, and this is definitely the most unique one I've checked out up until this point. Comment from PlatX2. So if you want, check out his channel. He's kind of doing a series 2 called The Five. So basically brings you in and asks a bunch of questions about some of your favorite movies, what you're watching recently, that kind of stuff. So really looking forward to be on your channel later this week. All right, Jeremy, my brother, wants to know, which do you enjoy more, Rurouni Kenshin or Hitman? Probably the Rurouni Kenshin movies. I really love the Ip Man movies. They have a special place in my heart because they were some of the first movies to introduce me to foreign films and specifically martial arts films. So I love the historical significance of the Ip Man movies. But technically, Rurouni Kenshin revolves around historical events, though he is, at least to my knowledge, a made-up character. But I would say the stunt work and action is much better in the Rurouni Kenshin movies, though it's more stylized. But it's literally just some of the best stunt work that I've seen in movies when it comes to the fight scenes, that kind of stuff. And I absolutely adore the themes in Kenshin more. Ip Man doesn't necessarily have themes. It has really impactful and inspiring story beats and stories that I really like. But the Rurouni Kenshin films have such reverent, if that's the right word, themes that really impacted me, especially with my faith. So that would be my pick for enjoying more. Definitely the Rurouni Kenshin ones. I still thoroughly love the Ip Man movies. Those 4 films are great, but I think I would pick Rurouni Kenshin as my ones that I enjoy a little bit more. Okay, we're done with that one. All right, this one was fun. So if you've not watched and you're not really into horror, over the past 3 weeks now, Netflix has released a trilogy of movies, one movie every week. And it was a really cool kind of experiment, I think. So they're the Fear Street trilogy. So the first one is Fear Street 1994. Then we got Fear Street 1978 and Fear Street 1666. And obviously each one takes place within those years, and they tell a overarching connecting story, but with different characters in each movie. And it's really cool, really interesting story of this town that's essentially divided into 2 sides. You got, I think it's Sunnyvale and Shadyside are the 2 sides. And Shadyside is much more of a degraded part of the town that has a lot of just crimes and murders and stuff that happen everywhere, where Sunnyvale is the kind of like happy, ritzy, everything's great kind of town. And they all believe that there was this curse by this witch that cursed Shadyside. And so Sunnyvale is always making fun of them. And there's almost every year a slew of murders from some kind of like psychopathic serial killer constantly in this town. And so they all believe it's this witch's curse that caused it. And these movies do a really cool job of blending those serious kind of horror themes with also the kind of slasher genre. So like the 1994 one is very much in the vein of the Scream movies, where the 1978 second one is much more in the theme of like a Friday the 13th slasher. And then 1666 is much more like the period, not necessarily period drama, but a period piece. So it's much more kind of psychological horror And I definitely found the third one to be the best of the three. But if I were to rank them real quick off the top of my head, the third one was my favorite, and then the first one, and then the third one. They're all very enjoyable. The first one definitely has the best kills, I think, because it just was very much in the Scream vein, and there's just some gnarly stuff that happens there. And then the third one, I think, had the scariest elements to it, so I really enjoyed and really appreciated that. I forgot to jump back to the comments just in case. Okay, no one has said anything else yet. So next, got to stay hydrated. Next, In the Heights. Let's highlight this here. I got to send a quick text. So In the Heights, this one is one I've been looking forward to for a while. I was a huge fan of Lin-Manuel's musical last year that came out, Hamilton. I love that play, and I love the movie they did for that. I'm really hoping we can get a Blu-ray for that soon. So In the Heights is kind of his follow-up, but it's kind of a weird follow-up in that he actually wrote In the Heights first. And In the Heights was a Broadway musical back in the early 2000s. And then Hamilton came out after that, but Hamilton was the one that kind of blew up for him. And so I actually watched In the Heights twice. So my wife and I checked it out a few weekends ago and absolutely loved it. She actually enjoyed it. I think what won her over is just the overwhelming community vibes of the In the Heights movie, which I loved. I loved the culture and the community vibes of that movie. But she's not really a history person too much, where I really enjoy and really like history. So I think because of that, she liked In the Heights a little bit better. So I still liked Hamilton better, but In the Heights was great. So we watched it once, and then the following weekend, it was still on HBO Max for a couple more days. So we invited some friends over and watched it with them because we had just been giving them glowing recommendations of it. So it was really fun to check that one out twice, and I really enjoyed it. I'm not a huge musical person, but if it's really well done and there's awesome choreography, a good story at its core, it's definitely one I'm going to check out. My wife teases me at the end because both times we watched it, it definitely brought me to tears at the end, but it wasn't like I wasn't bawling, but I really enjoyed it. And it's such a emotional, fun, heartwarming movie. It's definitely one of those ones that's just going to be a perfect summertime movie, put you in that mood for summer, really fun, happy, go lucky, all that kind of stuff. So I really enjoy In the Heights. It's definitely one that I will be picking up on Blu-ray because my wife really enjoyed it. So any movie that she enjoys, I'm definitely going to grab. All right, no more comments at the moment. Again, feel free to drop any comments you have about the movies I'm talking about, or if you have any other movie-related questions, that kind of thing, I'd be happy to answer. So on a completely different note from In the Heights, let's talk about Willy's Wonderland. Willy's Wonderland was a crazy movie. So if you don't know, Nicolas Cage stars in this movie, and he plays a silent wanderer. Literally, he does not have a single word in this entire movie. Granted, the movie's only like an hour and a half long, but it's essentially a horror movie within a Chuck E. Cheese. So the animatronics come to life and kill people, and so it caused the restaurant to shut down. And there's just all this crazy stuff that happens. So Nicolas Cage his car breaks down on his way going through town, and the tow truck guy's like, hey, I know a way we can help you out, because he doesn't have any money. So he's like, hey, someone's mowing nearby, so if you hear a mower, that's what it is. So he's like, hey, we can get you some money. I'll fix your car if you work in this restaurant, clean it up tonight, because we're getting ready to open it again. So he does it and is not told that these animatronics will come to life and try to kill him. So the whole movie is essentially him in this restaurant killing these monsters with a bunch of stupid teenagers who are trying to get in and rescue him. So it's just a wild, violent, ridiculous movie. I really enjoyed it. I don't know if I would get it for my collection. I might if I can get it for a good deal on Black Friday. So I might get it if I can get it for a good deal. But right now the Blu-ray is kind of expensive, so I don't know if I will. But it's definitely one I would enjoy just like watching and showing people. So I will definitely consider that in the future. A couple more comments. Mindy Graves, big fan of Calvin. Yeah, he's curled up taking a nap on the couch. Calvin is my dog, for anyone who doesn't know. Thank you for the encouragement. Stopping by quick. The gift the other night. Well, I've heard I've heard really good things. I think The Gift is with Jason Bateman. I forget the actress who's in it, and Joel Edgerton, I believe. That's one that's been on my radar for a while. I've heard really good things about it. I keep almost picking it up in a Big Lots because you can get it for like $5. I think it's also on Netflix right now, but I just haven't taken the time to check it out. I don't know if it's on my watch list or not, but definitely after that recommendation, I should definitely jump on and check it out. They just added The Empty Man to HBO Max, so that's the next movie I want to watch. I don't know if I'll have time today to watch it. If not, I'm going to watch it tomorrow. But it's one that Chris Stuckman gave a glowing review of on YouTube, and it's kind of a very underrated horror movie, it seems like, for this year. So it's one I want to check out. But yeah, The Gift is definitely one that's been on my radar as well. So it's one, especially after that recommendation there, I want to check out. Okay, next, I think we're about halfway through my list. We're doing good. Next, No Sudden Move. This is one I knew like nothing about. I'd watched one of the trailers before seeing it, but the only reason I was really interested in checking it out is because it was coming to HBO Max as well with the Warner Brothers deal they have for this year. So it's not one I necessarily would have checked out in theaters, but I probably would have watched it later this year. But I'm really glad I did check it out because it's actually one of my favorite movies of the year so far. And it's got quite a stellar cast. It's got Don Cheadle is kind of the main star, along with Benicio del Toro, and who else is in it? Oh, Brendan Fraser. Brendan Fraser is back, guys. George of the Jungle has made a triumphant return. So this kind of tells the story of some criminals who are kind of, one of the criminals is kind of trying to turn his life around a little bit. He just got out of jail, but essentially they're hired to do this job, and it's supposed to be like, just a couple hours, easy money, kind of hostage situation. And basically it goes wrong, and the movie follows them and what they're trying to do to get out and figure out what the heck is going on. So it's a really cool kind of period thriller. I would say it takes place in, like, I believe the 50s or the 60s. I want to say 50s. So it's really cool when it was actually based on true events as well, which I did not know until the end of the movie. So if you are looking for a new kind of crime drama thriller to check out, I definitely recommend No Sudden Move. That would probably be one of my top picks of all the stuff I've talked about so far on the stream. Scrolling back to see everything else I've talked about. Yeah, No Sudden Move would probably be my highest recommendation of everything I've talked about up until this point on the stream so far. So if you have HBO Max, check out No Sudden Move. If not, just give it a couple months or so and it'll be out on streaming, Blu-ray, that kind of thing, and you can check it out. But that would be one I'd highly recommend. It's not a perfect movie. I'm not trying to say it's like the greatest movie of the year, 5 out of 5 stars, but it's a really solid movie. It's actually made by Steven Soderbergh, who did the Oceans movies, is probably what some movies he's most known for. So if you liked that, you're probably going to like this as well. It's a very fast-paced movie with some really intense action and thrills, that kind of thing. Really cool. Oh, and David Harbour's in it as well. Speaking of David Harbour, we're going to talk about Black Widow in a little bit too, because I saw that over the weekend. So that's No Sudden Move. Next, we have The Wailing. So The Wailing is, I believe, a Korean horror movie that came out about 10 years ago. Oh, before I get into it, one more comment. Oh, Andrea, love learning about these movies. Yeah, I got tons of recommendations in this stream here. So, what was I talking about? The Wailing. So, The Wailing is, I believe, a Korean horror movie, and it's like 2.5 hours long. And I had heard it was kind of one of the scariest movies recently made in the past decade or so. And I really enjoyed it. It's definitely a slow burn, but at the same time, it's got some legitimately terrifying stuff that happens in it. I started watching it in an airport when I was traveling recently a few weeks ago, and then I finished it up when I got home later on. So I really enjoyed it. It's a really good movie, but you got to be ready to sink in and really just experience the movie because it's really deep, goes through a lot of stuff, and it's not necessarily horror in the traditional sense. It's very psychological and in some ways spiritual. It's definitely not for everyone. Like I said, I enjoyed it. I didn't love it, but I did think it was pretty good. So The Wailing is definitely one that if you're into kind of Korean thrillers and horror movies, The Wailing is definitely regarded as one of the best to come out recently of theirs. So it's one you definitely want to check out. Another foreign film that I watched recently, this is not a recently released movie at all, is the Akira Kurosawa movie Ran, and it's kind of, I think it would technically fall into the samurai genre, and because it has to do with a samurai kind of family and kingdom, and essentially this ruler who's been ruling for like 50, 60, 70 years or so decides he's getting too old and he's kind of like losing it mentally a little bit, and so he basically divides his kingdom amongst his three sons. And unfortunately, the sons do not have the same unity they did when the father was ruling. So he gives the kingdom to them, and he kind of starts to go mad, like through all, I don't know if it's necessarily Alzheimer's or something like that, but it's really good. Another like 2.5 hour movie. So it took me a couple days to go through this one just because I've been so busy lately. But regarded as a great Kurosawa classic, this movie feels like the first color movie you will watch. It came out back in the 80s or so, and Kurosawa does such an excellent job with the color. The first movie I watched of his was Seven Samurai, and I think I've seen 2 or 3 of his movies now. Seven Samurai is still my favorite of his, but Ran is another great one. Literally visually beautiful. It's one of those movies that every frame is a masterpiece. So thoroughly enjoyed at least the visual aspect of the story. I think in the middle half of the movie, the story kind of slows down a little too much for me personally, not to the point that I disliked it, but it definitely moves at a slower pace through the middle. But the battle sequences are excellent, some great extra work. There's an incredible amount of extras and action, set pieces, all that kind of stuff. It's an epic movie. So if you're someone who's into samurai flicks, and you've watched streaming on there, but that is where I watched it. Favorite collector's item in your collection? Probably TV show wise, I'm definitely going to go with How I Met Your Mother. I have the 9-season box set. That's my favorite for that. And then my favorite box set's probably going to be my Lord of the Rings extended trilogy on Blu-ray. I have the theatrical films on Blu-ray, and then I have the extended films on Blu-ray, and then I have the theatrical and the extended films on 4K. But even though I have the movies on 4K, it's just the normal box set. I think they're coming out with a fancy box set sometime this year or next year. But I just wanted to get the movies because I love the gold box set. I would show you, but it's helping hold up my iPad for this stream right now. So that's probably my favorite in my collection. I remember 4 or 5 years ago, I got it for like $25 on Prime Day, and it's still one of my favorite items in my collection. And were it not to be that, I'd probably pick one of my steelbooks or something like that, like my Quiet Place 4K steelbook. That's another one of my favorites that I have. I'm looking to see if there's anything else. Besides that, yeah, it'd probably be one of my steelbooks. I also really love my Leon the Professional 4K steelbook. I know, Jeremy, I showed that movie to you a few months ago, and you really liked it. So those would probably be my top 3 would be my Lord of the Rings box set, my Quiet Place 4K steelbook, and my Professional 4K steelbook. I can't wait to watch Ran, own it on Blu-ray. Yeah, I'm thinking about getting it on Blu-ray because I think Studio Canal came out with one, but I feel like I heard that Criterion Collection or another studio or another distributor is going to be putting out a new Blu-ray on it, so maybe I'll wait and see what they do with that. Rashomon, I've heard of Rashomon. I almost picked it up with the Criterion sale that's going on right now, but no, I've not seen it. It's definitely one I'd like to check out. If I remember right, Rashomon is the one to do with a number of people witnessing a murder, and you're kind of seeing their different perspectives on it. So you correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's the premise of that one. So Rashomon is definitely another one I'd like to check out. I've definitely been going on like a Japanese samurai kick for the past few months or so. So I'm trying to check out as many of those as I can. And a lot of them are on Criterion. And even though the sale's on right now, Criterions are still expensive. Okay, I want to talk about this one. So, Major Grom Plague Doctor. So this movie has been on my recommended. It just came to Netflix. And let me get another drink quick. From what I've heard, it's a popular movie overseas, and so Netflix picked up the streaming rights for it internationally, which they do a lot, and kind of put it out as a Netflix original. So Major Grom Blake, Plague Doctor, is, I believe, based on a graphic novel. And the movie itself is in Russian, but there is like an English dub. So if you're someone who doesn't like doing subtitles, you can always check out the dub. I heard the dub is actually pretty decent. I myself watched it with subtitles. I 90% of the time opt for subtitles when watching foreign films and anime. So basically, this is the story. It's kind of a superhero movie, but not really. I've already recommended this movie to a few people, but kind of how I would describe it is it's kind of a crime, or it's like a cop movie essentially. So the guy's a cop. He's one of the best cops in the precinct somewhere in Russia. I forget the name of the city he's in, but one of the big Russian cities. And he's the top one, but he does everything in such an unorthodox way, always breaking the rules, always on the verge of getting fired. And it's played much for humor and comedy in that aspect. But so this guy shows up and he calls himself the Plague Doctor. And he essentially takes the law into his own hands as a vigilante and starts killing all of these people who are big business type people who kind of screwed over all the general population and people all throughout, you know, their career and stuff like that. And so this guy basically takes it into his own hands and starts killing them in his own sense of justice. And Major Grom is the police officer, detective, I think is his official title. And he's the one who kind of pursues him and seeks him out. And I just really enjoyed, I thought this movie did from other cop movies, that kind of thing. So I really enjoyed that aspect of it. I thought the action was really good. The set pieces were really cool. There's not a ton of CGI in it, which I appreciate. Obviously, if you do great CGI, by all means do it. But a lot of times CGI is kind of average and mediocre. So I really enjoyed The Plague Doctor, and it's one I would highly recommend. Like I said, it's on Netflix, so I would definitely recommend checking out Major Grom Plague Doctor. Again, there's a dub for it if you're someone who's not really into subtitles, but it's just a really good action movie. I think it's on my top 10 favorite movies of the year so far. Granted, we're only halfway through the year at this point, so it might not stay, but as of now, it was good enough that I definitely would feel confident putting it on my top 10 list at this point in the year. Blu-ray King, hey there, hey man. I've seen you on plenty of live streams on some of the other guys' channels. Let's see, you also bought your first Criterion movies and ordered 3 more. I just started buying my own as well on the sale. I had, let me pull it quick, Seven Samurai. My brother got it for me on the Criterion for my birthday. And I kind of intended on it just being the only Criterion in my collection because I know they're really expensive. But then I got more into the samurai stuff and whatnot. And with the sale going on, I figured, you know what, I'm going to grab a few more. So I've picked up 3 more Criterions. I also got, you'll see these in my end of the month Blu-ray haul. So sneak preview for anyone watching before next week's Blu-ray haul for the month. I got Fantastic Mr. Fox, the Wes Anderson movie, which is my favorite of his. Memories of Murder, which is, if you've seen Parasite, Bong Joon-ho, it's the same director. He did that one, and that's regarded as one of his best movies, and I think it was only like his second film. So Memories of Murder, I've not watched it yet, but I've heard it's great, so I picked it up. And then Following, Christopher Nolan's Following. That's the only way you can get that movie on Blu-ray. I've had it on DVD for a while, and I wanted to get all of his films on Blu-ray. So I just was like, you know what, it's on sale. Might as well grab it. So I have 4 Criterions now. I don't know if I'll get any more. If I do, they'll probably be samurai movies because that's kind of my thing. But I'm happy to have now, with thanks to this sale, a couple more awesome movies to check out, especially now that I have all of Nolan's movies on Blu-ray. God Bless America. I don't think I've heard of that movie. Just watched The Sting last night. Enjoyed it. Super fun movie. Favorite gambling scene in a movie. I haven't seen The Sting, but I've heard, I don't know really anything about it, but I've at least heard of it. I've heard that it's good. My favorite gambling scene in a movie. My 2 favorite movies that take place within like Las Vegas and casinos and stuff would probably be either Ocean's 11 or the movie 21. Ocean's 11 is the widely known, heist movie, and 21 is a blackjack movie where a college student who's really good at math basically goes to Las Vegas on the weekends and counts cards, and they win a ton of money, and he does it to pay for school. So really cool. I really enjoyed both of those movies. Since Ocean's 11 is more focused on the heist. I would probably say 21. So I'm not sure which scene in 21 because it's been a while since I've seen the movie. But I would say my favorite movie that revolves around kind of casinos and gambling would probably be 21. Yes, I've considered getting the Parasite Criterion as well because it looks gorgeous. But I paid like 20, $25 for Parasite when it first came out. Minari has been on the top of my one of the movies on the top of my list to check out. It's finally out on Blu-ray. I don't know if it's at like Redbox or something. I'll have to check it out. But Minari, I'm a huge fan of Steven Yeun. He's in the Invincible series that's been popular on Amazon Prime, and I really loved him in that. And I enjoyed his character in The Walking Dead too. Those are the main two things I saw him in. But yes, Minari is one I really, really want to check out. The Irishman is great. I'd be curious, is that your first time watching it or have you seen it before? It's a long movie, but it's really good. I don't think I've seen Grand Budapest Hotel of the ones you mentioned here. That one's really good. A friend of mine has like almost all of the Wes Anderson Criterions. Pretty much every movie of his comes out on Criterion, which is crazy. All right, I just have a couple more movies I'm talking about here, so it looks like we'll be right on for right around half hour to an hour here for the stream. So just this weekend, I saw Black Widow. So I was a week late to the party, but I did check out Black Widow this weekend. So really enjoyed it. It's definitely kind of mid-tier MCU for me, but I don't know. I haven't watched all the MCU movies for a while, so I don't know exactly where I'd lay it. Off the top of my head, I would put it maybe a little higher on the mid-tier MCU on the more positive side in like top 10 or something like that. Not necessarily top 10, but like top half is I guess what I'm trying to say. I would definitely say I was listening to a movie podcast and they said the first two acts are excellent and phenomenal. I would wholeheartedly agree with that. And they somewhat go down the traditional big bouncy CGI fest for the final act, but I still think it was really good. Florence Pugh and David Harbour, definitely the highlights of the movie. Scarlett Johansson did a good job, but definitely outshined a little bit by Florence Pugh and David Harbour. I'm a little biased to both of them because I'm a huge Stranger Things fan, and David Harbour is excellent as Hopper, so I can't help but love him because of that. And Florence Pugh is one of my favorite actresses working today. So I really enjoyed the movie. I ended up giving it a 3.5 out of 5, I believe. And Florence Pugh again, great. So if you enjoyed Florence Pugh's character in this one, I had one person text me and said they really liked her, but I hadn't seen her in anything else. I highly recommend. Here we go. Fighting with My Family is a great one. It's a great family drama kind of comedy about a true story of one of the biggest female MMA fighters, I believe. It's either WWE or MMA. I think it's WWE, and it's a really fun, really great comedy drama movie. So I really enjoyed that one. I really like her in Midsommar, though I didn't love the movie, but I really respect it. And then what's the other one? I love her in Little Women. Little Women is great, and those are the main ones that I've seen her in. Before we jump to the final movie I want to talk about in the stream, there's a few more comments. First time watching Irishman. Okay, cool. Yeah, you'll have to let me know what you think of it. I ended up watching it in 2 parts. Let me put that up here. I watched the movie in 2 parts. The first time I watched the first like half, and I got like a migraine that night, and I was really into it, but I just couldn't focus with my headache. So I ended up watching it the next day in 2 parts. So next time I watch it, I want to sit down and watch it straight through. Marriage Story is awesome as well. I know that one's out on Criterion as well. Yes, Black Widow is definitely a little different than I expected. I understood the Taskmaster twist. I won't spoil anything here for people who haven't seen it yet. But the way they ended the story with Taskmaster, it's going to be really hard to bring the character back, I think. And I thought Taskmaster would have been a really cool recurring villain to kind of bring back in the MCU, seeing as that kind of mirrors and copies other people's abilities and powers. So if I was to give my biggest criticisms on Black Widow, let me hop back over to Black Widow here. My biggest criticisms on Black Widow would be the main villain is very flat. He's very much I'm evil, I'm a horrible person, and you're going to hate me. So there's not really a way to sympathize with him. And I think the best villains are ones you can kind of empathize with. That being the best ones being Loki, Thanos, and Killmonger, I think, are probably the top three villains in the MCU, at least for me. So I really appreciate when Marvel takes the time to set up and establish a villain that you can, at the very least, empathize with. Jake Gyllenhaal as Mysterio kind of teetered that line a little bit. He definitely leaned on the side of empathizing, but it wasn't the best villain that they'd done. So, and the Marvel movies need to do. I wish we could get more than like every 5 movies getting a great villain. I wish it could be like every other or every even, but that's a little bit wishful thinking. I wish at least every other MCU movie, or at least every half of their movies, we could get a much more solid villain, because he's just someone you're just gonna hate. Like, there's no redeeming quality of him. He's a horrible person and he deserves to die, essentially, in the movie. Yes, the post-credit scene was awesome. Again, I won't spoil it on here for anyone who hasn't seen it yet, but the post-credit scene definitely does a really good job setting up what's coming next, specifically in the Hawkeye series. I'm really excited for that. Yes, I want Spider-Man No Way Home as well. The Marvel shows are doing a decent job. I really enjoyed WandaVision. That's probably my favorite of the ones they've done so far. Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I was very lukewarm on. I thought it was very mediocre, but I really, really liked Loki. Loki would be a close second to WandaVision for me. I really enjoyed it. I'm really curious how the end events of that series are going to play in the future of the MCU, because it's going to be absolutely huge. I'm sure those final events are exactly what they're going to utilize to bring in the X-Men and the Fantastic Four. All right. Feel free to drop any other questions you want in the comments section as I'm talking about Tomorrow War, and then we'll jump back to the comments and we'll wrap up the stream. So the Tomorrow War I would have loved to see on the big screen in a theater. Originally it was going to, but with all the pandemic stuff happening, Amazon ended up picking up the movie and they put it out on Prime Video. Granted, I really enjoyed it, even watching from home. Chris Pratt is great in it, role. He has good chemistry. I don't know the actress who played his wife or the actress who played his daughter, but they did a really good job with that. I really liked the time travel elements of this movie. I was talking with a coworker of mine a couple nights ago, and I felt like they did a good job differentiating the way their time travel works from other time travel concepts. I will say it is not a perfect time travel system, but very few time travel movies have a perfect system, because time travel in itself is inherently nearly impossible to come up with a concept for. So again, not a perfect time travel system. I had my issues with it, but it wasn't to the point that I disliked the movie and didn't enjoy it. I really, really liked the action, the alien monsters, some of the best monster effects I've seen this year. I think those were some of the reasons I would have loved to have seen it on the big screen. All the effects surrounding the time travel parts, as well as the monster fights, all that kind of stuff, really enjoyed it. The movie took some really, really cool turns and twists that I did not expect when it comes to the story. I won't, again, spoil them here because it's still a relatively new movie and I want people to check it out and kind of experience it for themselves. But they took some really cool directions that I really enjoyed. Thought they did a good job. Again, time travel system for the movie is not perfect, but the movie itself is really good. Lots of great action. I rated it just a little bit higher than I did Black Widow, I think. I believe I gave this one 4 out of 5. So really enjoyed the Tomorrow War. All right, number of comments. Let's jump into this. Yes, I pretty much checked out of Falcon and the Winter Soldier about halfway through as well. I did finish it, but I thought it got too preachy and soapboxy at the end. I thought it was really neat that it tackled themes on racism and stuff, because I thought that element of the show was really good, I think, and I enjoyed that. That was probably the element of the show I enjoyed the most, and kind of the playful banter between Bucky and Falcon's character. So I really enjoyed their kind of banter, and I liked some of the themes they did, but I got too soapboxy at the end of the whole government control and all that kind of stuff. I didn't love that. Loki does start strong, but I really like that it's only 6 episodes. It moves at a really quick pace, so I really enjoyed that. And the first episode had me, and then episode two was like, okay. And then episode three, where they introduced Sylvie at the end of that episode, the episode as a whole was again another okay. But once they introduced Sylvie, that was when the show had me. And especially in the end, they definitely did something a bit different in that there's not a ton of action in the season finale. It's not like a big fight like WandaVision led up to a big fight. Falcon and the Winter Soldier led up to a big fight. It's much more tame and calmed down, but I think it does a really good job setting up what's coming next. So I'm really excited for that. Yes, I understand. I know. I totally feel for people who don't really care about the MCU. I'm someone who's just been along since the beginning of the ride, so I really enjoy it, and I love the movies. I have all of them, and I'm enjoying the series. Yeah, Tomorrow War is definitely worth checking out. I wish I could have seen it in theaters. Okay, his wife's in a couple episodes from Elementary. I have TikTok, but I just watch on it. I don't put anything on there. I just watch a lot of people do crazy things. Yeah, 4 out of 5. That's what I gave Tomorrow War 2. I'm assuming that's what you were referring to. Never cared for Winter Soldier. Winter Soldier is probably one of my top MCU movies. The first time I watched it, I really liked it. Second time, I really liked it. Third time, I wasn't in the right headspace and thought it was kind of boring. But I think I was kind of tired when I watched it for like the fourth time. But then the next time I watched it after that, I really, really enjoyed it and really liked it. So I just like the really grounded nature of that one. I think it does a really cool job just being like a very much a grounded spy thriller almost. So I really enjoyed those elements of it. All right, at the moment, that's all for the comments. So again, if anyone has any other questions, feel free to pop them down in the comments. I'll wrap things up real quick. Again, I hope you enjoyed this. If anyone has any recommendations to make this stream better, let me know. Obviously, this is just the first one, so I'm going to continue to kind of evolve and change it as we go. Again, this is just a place to come in, ask random questions, talk about what movies and shows we're watching. I just think it'd be a cool way to kind of check in once a month. I enjoy doing my monthly Blu-ray hauls where I talk about what I'm picking up. And when I first started doing Blu-ray hauls, I kind of talked about what I was watching too. And I always kind of wanted to get back to that. So I felt like this live stream would be a good way to do that. So hopefully the stream came out in a good quality. I tried to remove as many devices from my Wi-Fi as I could so that we could have a good quality stream. So I really enjoyed having everybody here. We had like up to like 7 or 8 people in the chat, which is awesome, I think, for the first live stream. The channel's been growing a lot lately, which is really cool. We passed 500 subs, which is awesome. So if you've not already and this is your first video for the channel, welcome. I hope you're enjoying it, and definitely consider subscribing. Again, live streams are something that's come to the channel, but besides that, I do collection videos as well as just talking about movies from my kind of unique Christian perspective. I feel like there's just not enough people out there from a Christian perspective talking about movies in a more respectful way. There's too many people bashing on them and stuff like that. So I really wanted to kind of put my unique perspective out there of actually recommending normal movies for people to check out and the awesome themes that we can pick up on in those. So that's kind of like a really short version of kind of the purpose of this channel. So thanks everyone for joining the live stream. I hope you enjoyed it. If you're catching this on the rewatch and you watched up until this point, even if you're watching live up until this point, thanks. I really appreciate everyone coming in. We got to keep it under an hour, which I think is cool because I'm not someone who enjoys watching 2, 3, 4 hour long live streams. So I wanted to keep this short and sweet, keep it as valuable as possible for the amount of time that it was. So I tried to pack as much in as I could. Again, I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you got any recommendations, let me know. So I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. There will be no new video this week, I don't think, just because it's been a busy week. And I was originally, I will note this before I end the stream, I was originally going to talk my part 2 of regular movies that have the best Christian themes. Part 2 to last week's Christian movies that are actually good. But next week is actually going to be a Blu-ray haul because we're at the end of the month. So next week, get ready for a Blu-ray haul. And then the week after that, I'll do part 2 in that series. So just some housekeeping there. But thanks again for everyone for sticking around for the whole stream. I hope you enjoyed it. I really had a lot of fun with it. I'm looking forward to the next one. Sometime in about a month, I'll keep you guys notified on my social channels of Instagram and Facebook of when the next stream and videos are going up. So be sure to follow me there for all that. Thank you again. I'll see you guys in the next video.